Everybody awake?
They won't be in 15 minutes.
No, I think they'll be riveted to their seats. And remember, there is some coffee back there and water if you need to get refreshed. So up this morning, he's actually going to be talking on a couple subjects today. And the first one up is how to build your list and build your profits with the world's best kept copywriting secrets. So please give me help me a warm welcome, Bob Bly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. So a disclaimer, these are the world's best kept copywriting secrets, but they're not my secrets. I haven't really invented or innovated anything, unlike Joel, who came up with the master list building system. But I pay attention to what I do, and I've actually been doing this for almost 30 years. And so I've just taken note, and what I've learned from other people, I've collected and distilled into these principles, which I think will be of some use to you, and I'll give credit wherever credit is due. So let's take a look. Here's an interesting, we're in an internet marketing conference. I'm on a list. I don't know if you're on the same list because you also write articles, but I got on this email list of journalists, business journalists, and there are PR services, like iMedia Facts, that'll send you emails and press releases. So I get this one day because I'm on this list. It says, from Summer Stevenson to R.W. Bly, subject, controversy and success per placement PR, pay per placement PR experts avail. Robert. Now they're trying to get you to write about something. Robert, would you be interested in how a professional services firm reinvented itself to great success and controversy? With the choice being you love that lead, it sucks, or it's okay. How many love it? How many think it sucks? And how many say it's so-so? Yeah, I agree with the it sucks. What's wrong with it? For anybody who said it stinks, who cares? So the first principle is, this is what we call manufacturer copy, although this is a service firm. It's oriented toward the company, the service, the product, and the reader doesn't care about you, your goals as an internet marketer, your online business, your qualifications. They primarily care about how many people have heard the thing in marketing seminars. Everyone listens to a radio station in their head, WIIFM. Chuck, what does that stand for? Yeah, people are self-centered, and this is totally not what's in it for you. If I'm an editor or a writer, who cares? So that's the first principle or the first mistake to avoid. Now today, this is a 2-hour presentation, but we're only going to take about an hour. So we're not going to cover all of these things, but we'll definitely get to the secret of the big promise, the USP, remember, unique selling proposition, your product's reason for being, the secondary promise, the secret of the 4 U's, which will be really useful to you, understanding the buyer's core complex with BDF. Remember, Joel taught us yesterday to think about the market. I'm going to and analyze what they're like. This is a more formal way of doing that. It's sort of a system. And then we're going to talk about, as time allows, probably do the 4 legs of the stool because it's really relevant to internet marketing, and probably get to the motivating sequence. We'll see what time permits. The secret of the promise, Samuel Johnson, the philosopher, I think 18th century, said, large promise is the soul of an advertisement. And Kurt Vonnegut said the same thing. The basis of every great advertisement is a credible promise. Well, how would Kurt Vonnegut know? He used to be a publicist for General Electric, so he was in marketing. The idea is, and this is a principle I think most internet marketers grasp very well, but just in most of my audiences, they don't. You can't get attention in any kind of direct marketing, and internet marketing is a subset of direct marketing. You can't get attention unless you make the reader, the prospect, a really big promise up front. Why doesn't a small promise usually work? Because people are bombarded by messages all day, and you're competing with all those messages. So if it's not big, it's not worth their time. This is a great example of a headline this is a really good headline that makes a big promise. I can help you triple, very specific, your leads, your sales, and your profits in the next 99 days, again, specific time frame, guaranteed. And that headline is really good on many levels, and I'll use it as an example throughout to show you how it meets these principles. So here's an example outside of internet marketing. I've been writing internet marketing copy for many years. This is from Agora for a financial newsletter. I can't remember which one it was, but it was one of their financial newsletters. And it was a mailing. CSX Scientific Stock System offers huge 252% stock profits since the beginning of the year when the NASDAQ fell 31%. This is a few years old. The S&P plunged 22% and the Dow slumped 15%. Now, big promise, but how many of you, when you see this now, or if you got it at home, your kind of reaction would be, excuse my language, bullshit. You're skeptical. Be honest. Raise your hand. Yeah. So what? So this reveals the flaw in the big promise. You have to have a big promise, but it reveals the hidden danger of the flaw. The bigger the promise, the more skeptical people are. That's why. How many people remember Tom Arnold, Roseanne Barr's wife? He wrote a book, and it was, of course, tongue in cheek. It was a self-help book called How to Lose 5 Pounds in 13 Years. Not a big promise. You could believe that you could achieve that. So we don't want to do that. So if we're going to use a big promise, what do we do? Now, you look at this cover and you start to read, and it says, look at these amazing gains. And they name a company, a stock, and the percent gain of the stock. And there are 14 of them. And then it's summarized in the arrow. These 14 stocks increased an average of 252%. Now, since this is a newsletter, this is all verifiable. Most of these newsletters post their back issues on the web. You can't lie about this. First of all, the FCC would close you down. SEC would clobber you. You can't lie in these things. And also, the proof is there. You see each of the stock, and you could verify it. So how many people seeing that list and you study it for a minute? I'm not saying you believe it, but you're a little less skeptical now, a little more convinced. So that's the secret that's the second secret. If you're going to make a big promise, and you pretty much have to most of the time, I'll show you the exception rules, you need big proof. Big promise, you have to have big proof. Now, let me see. The best form of proof is what Joel discussed yesterday, the unique selling proposition. That really is your big promise. And who can define for me a unique selling proposition? What makes you different? That's a good summary definition. Now, how many people know the unique selling proposition? Do you know who invented it? Rossa Reeves, a Madison Avenue ad guy in his 1960 book, Reality and Advertising. And in it, he defines the 3 elements your USP must have to be effective. How many people know the 3 elements of a unique selling proposition? Yeah, nobody knows it because Rossa Reeves' book is out of print. So what I did is I went on eBay or Amazon, I forget where I bought it, and I found the used copy for $98, and I bought it. And I found the page where it is, and I copied it on the next slide, so the next slide is worth $98. And here's what he said. Number 1, the unique selling proposition. Number 1, each advertisement must make a proposition to the consumer. Each must say to the reader, buy this specific product and you will get this specific benefit. And if you look at this headline, you can see the benefit. We know that, so there has to be a benefit. That's no news. Now, number 2, the proposition must be one that the competition either cannot or does not offer. It must be unique, either a uniqueness of brand or a claim not otherwise made in that particular field. So that's where the U in unique selling proposition comes in. For example, we have people here who are doing internet marketing, how to make money in internet marketing. We have people who are doing real estate. You're doing real estate. But there are lots of people doing real estate. What makes you different? Now, you notice he says it can be one either that's a unique thing about the product. There's 3 ways to do this. First, you can have something actually unique about your product. If you're selling a widget and you can put a feature in there, you can design it, like in your software. Is there anything that your software does that actually the competitor does not have? There is?
There is at certain points, but then they develop.
Yeah, they develop, but there are at certain points. So one thing is to design something in it that they don't have. The other is a different strategy. You may not have a unique benefit or feature, but they're not talking about a certain benefit or feature that you decide to highlight. Does anybody ever read Scientific Advertising by Claude Hopkins? Okay, everyone should read that, and you can download it for free on the internet. Just Google Scientific Advertising. And he tells a story. He was an ad man, very famous in the 20s, Joel, the 30s. Scientific Advertising. If you Google Claude, you don't have to even put his name, Claude Hopkins. And so he was touring as the story goes, a beer factory for Schlitz. His ad agency was hired to write an ad campaign for Schlitz. and he's walking through the brewery, hard word to say, and he noticed that there's steam being shot into bottles, and he says to the brewmaster, "What's that?" He goes, "Oh, we have to wash the bottles in live steam to sanitize them." He goes, "That's interesting." He goes, "No, put your pencil away. Everyone does that." And Claude Hopkins said to him, "But nobody knows that. Nobody talks about it." And he decided to do a campaign for Schlitz based on purity. And you actually see purity campaigns today, like Coors, the mountain water. So it works. And he did it. And the headline of the first ad was, "Beer so pure, we wash the bottles in live steam." So it was a feature that unique in that no one else talked about it. Number three, but the other way to do it is branding. There are other people who teach list building. But if you want to learn list building on the internet from the master list builder, there is only one place you can get it. So it's a uniqueness of brand. The third is the proposition must be so strong that it can move the mass millions, or in a targeted niche market, the mass thousands, or in some cases, the hundreds, like with your Manatech people, it can move them over to your product. It has to be, so you can't take a minor feature, like their software may have some little, one of the features or functions that the others don't have, but no one cares about. I'm sure you have things that people do care about, and that you don't emphasize. So looking at unique selling proposition, how many people, for example, can name the unique selling proposition of Morton Salt? Does anybody remember? When it rains, it pours, means it wouldn't stick. How about this one? I'm sure more will know. Maxwell House. Good to the last drop. M&M's. Melts in your mouth, not in your hands. Now think about it. You say, why can't someone, the competitors can copy it. But if you're M&M's and you spend like, $80 million over the last 3 years advertising your M&M's, and then Reese's, whoever comes out with their hard shell chocolate, what are they going to say? We also melt in your mouth, not in your hand. You own the unique selling proposition if you've established it through your marketing. I'm going to skip that for now and go to this technique. Another way if you're going to make a big claim, here's another technique that works. You could have big proof, but another way is to have a secondary promise. And let me explain this. The danger of the big promise is that it may sound so fantastic that the reader does not believe it. Make 252% stock profits with the XYZ system. In that case, use a secondary promise. The secondary promise is a lesser benefit that the product also delivers. Although not as large as the big promise, the secondary promise should be big enough so that by itself it is reason enough to order the product, yet small enough so that it is easily believed. And I'll show you an example in a minute. That way, even if the reader doesn't believe your big promise, the secondary promise, they read it and say, yeah, that's more believable, and that's worth, I'll get the product just for that. Let me show you an example. I wrote a mailing for a stock market newsletter specializing in biotech stocks. And they were recommending a stock that we featured in the mailing of a company developing what they called a bionic liver. Remember the bionic man, the $6 million man? So it's an artificial liver. And the headline was, crazy as it sounds, shares of this tiny R&D company selling for $2 today could be worth as much as $100 in the not too distant future. That means that basically you're going to make like a 4,000% stock profit. How many people believe, though, that, like, let's say it was a cure for cancer, that if I had a pharmaceutical company and I developed a cure for cancer, my stock could go from $2 to $100 per share? How many believe that? Of course you do. What don't you believe? You don't believe I have a cure for cancer. You don't believe they can develop this bionic or artificial liver. And liver disease, as we explained in the package, that's like the number 2 killer. It's a huge, big problem, much, but less publicized than cancer. This is called landing page tune-up, and it's how can we take our existing landing page and make it stronger? Now, you had mentioned, it was real interesting. You said, one of my pictures in the banner, it depresses response. Did you say that? How did you know that? Tested. Yeah. Now, so the question is, what do I test in a landing page? These are the hot spots that you want to test. Number one, he calls it logo configuration, but it's really the banner. So the stuff above. You want to test the headline copy. Headline here is earn more money you deserve. You want to test the greeting copy, the lead, dear internet marketer, the subhead, first paragraph. You can test the body copy. You can test the form position. In other words, where should I have the form? Should it even be on the landing page? You can test the image. And this is interesting. This is from a real test that was done in a multivariate test, a Taguchi test by Dave Bullock. And I forget what the product was. It was something like Get a Better Job. And they showed 3 images in this test. They showed a picture of the product, which is that CD. They showed a picture of a happy bookkeeper who had a great job keeping books. Can't imagine how you could be a happy bookkeeper, but that's hey. And then two worst jobs in the world to me would be being a bookkeeper and being the guy who was Forrest Gump in the restaurant. If I had to do that, I'd have to kill myself. And then the other so it was the image was the product, was the happy bookkeeper, and was the author of the product. Which one is better? What? You're right. The happy bookkeeper won, but that's the kind of thing it's a good guess, but you don't know until you test. And that's what testing allows. So let's take a look at, okay, here we have success pipeline. So take a look at this. It says success pipeline, the information you need to succeed. Subscribing pays. Subscribe now and get a 5-part e-course titled the 10-pack strategies to increase your website results. And then the copy, you can read it. You're in the right place to learn the techniques you need to become successful on the internet. Success Pipeline is a power pack, content-rich, loaded publication dedicated to online business and home success. You need this publication. Subscribe now, and you can read it. So this is obviously a squeeze page, or a standalone registration page for to collect email addresses. Now, with the choice being, this is dynamite, I'd have to subscribe. I would just click this away, or so-so. How many people think this is great? You would have to subscribe. How many people think it's awful? I would never give it a second look. Couple, meanies, mean people. And you should feel guilty. And then, no, we're all here to improve it. And how many say, so-so, I could live with it. Okay, so of the people who didn't like it, what did you not like about it?
Didn't like quite bland.
Quite bland.